I went in for a haircut like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. No expectations. No destiny. Just a warm afternoon in a mid-sized American city. My headphones in my pocket, hair a little too long around the ears, telling myself I'd be in and out in 20 minutes. I had no idea that choice, pushing open that glass door, was about to reroute my entire life. The barbershop hit me all at once. Loud hip-hop thumping through old speakers, the smell of aftershave and coffee, laughter bouncing off the walls. A long bench ran along one side, packed with guys, college-age, gym-built, tattooed, baseball caps turned backward. Everyone looked over for half a second when I walked in, then went right back to roasting each other like it was a competitive sport. The vibe was relaxed, masculine, chaotic in a way that felt strangely welcoming. I nodded at a couple of guys and took an empty seat, scrolling my phone while pretending not to people watch. That's when I saw him. Behind the chair stood Ethan Brooks. He was early 30s, maybe, with dark hair styled effortlessly, like he hadn't tried it all and somehow nailed it. Rolled-up sleeves showed strong forearms dusted with faint tattoos. His voice, low, calm, amused, cut cleanly through the noise every time he spoke. He smiled easily, but not cheaply, like someone who knew exactly how attractive he was without needing to prove it. "Man, if you keep moving like that, I'm gonna charge you extra," he joked to the guy in the chair. The whole shop laughed. I felt it in my chest first. That quiet, stupid flutter you get when your body reacts before your brain catches up. I told myself to relax. He was just a barber. An attractive barber. In a shop full of attractive guys. No big deal. Then I noticed Lucas. He was sitting a few seats down from me, mid-20s, lean build, hoodie pulled slightly forward. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't on his phone. His eyes were locked on Ethan like the rest of the room didn't exist. Not in a creepy way, more like focus, intensity, the kind of look you give someone when you've memorized their movements without meaning to. Every time Ethan smiled, Lucas's mouth twitched like he wanted to smile too but stopped himself. And that's when it hit me. He likes him. The realization should have made me back off emotionally. Didn't. Instead, something complicated stirred in me. Because as I watched Ethan joke and work, and Lucas quietly orbit him with those unreadable eyes, I realized something else. I liked them both. The thought surprised me so hard I almost laughed out loud. One minute I'm here for a trim, the next I'm mentally spiraling in a barbershop love geometry problem. I shifted in my seat, suddenly hyper-aware of where I was looking. "Next," Ethan called. That was me. I stood, caught his eye, and for a split second the noise of the shop faded. His gaze lingered, not long enough to be obvious, but long enough to feel intentional. "What are we doing today?" he asked as I sat. Fixing whatever this is," I said, gesturing vaguely at my head. He grinned. "We can do that." As he draped the cape around me, our fingers brushed. Tiny thing. Electric anyway. The guys on the bench started up immediately. "Oh, Ethan, be gentle," someone yelled. "Man, he's already blushing," another added. I rolled my eyes, laughing, but Ethan leaned in slightly and said, "Don't worry, they tease because they care." His breath was warm near my ear. I swallowed. The haircut itself became a blur of awkward eye contact in the mirror, flirty jokes disguised as small talk, and me trying very hard not to read into every little thing. Every now and then, I'd catch Lucas watching us in the reflection. When our eyes met, he looked away fast. Too fast. At one point, Ethan tilted my head gently to the side. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just, long day." Something in his expression softened, like he recognized that feeling. For a moment, his confident smile slipped, revealing something quieter underneath. Loneliness, maybe, or exhaustion. It was gone almost instantly, replaced with another joke, another laugh. But I saw it. And once you see something like that, you don't forget it. When he finished, he stepped back, hands on my shoulders. "What do you think?" I looked at myself, then at him. "I think I should have come here sooner." That earned a low chuckle, and a very deliberate glance from Lucas. I paid, stood, and was about to leave when Ethan spoke again. "Hey, we're grabbing drinks after closing. A few of us." He paused, then added, "You should come. Both of you." He nodded toward Lucas, who looked up sharply, surprised. Lucas hesitated. I mean, yeah, sure." I felt something click into place, or maybe crack open. As I stepped outside into the fading daylight, heart racing for reasons I couldn't fully explain. One thought looped in my head over and over. This wasn't just a haircut. Something had started. Something messy. Something funny and dangerous and beautiful. That night, I didn't know I was walking into a story that would break me and rebuild me. What started as grabbing drinks turned into something that felt a lot like gravity. The kind you don't notice at first until suddenly you're orbiting the same people, the same places, the same laughter over and over again. After that night, we just kept hanging out. Coffee after Ethan's shifts. Random late dinners that turned into midnight walks. Lucas started texting memes at 2 a.m. Ethan sending voice notes complaining about clients who asked for haircuts they clearly couldn't pull off. Somewhere between all that, the three of us slipped into a rhythm that felt natural, like we'd known each other longer than we actually had. The first trip happened almost by accident. Ethan mentioned he'd never really done Vegas properly. Lucas joked that what happened in Vegas only stayed there if you were emotionally stable, which none of us were. 2 days later, we were crammed into Ethan's car, music blasting, energy high, driving through the desert like we were running away from something, or toward it. Vegas was chaos in the best way. Neon lights, cheap drinks, expensive mistakes narrowly avoided. We laughed until our stomachs hurt in a hotel room that smelled faintly of cologne and regret. Lucas got drunk faster than either of us and insisted on telling everyone we met that Ethan was the hottest barber in 3 states. Drunk karaoke happened. Shouldn't have. It did anyway. Ethan sang off-key on purpose, just to make us laugh. I forgot the lyrics halfway through my song and blamed the mic. Lucas cheered like I just won a Grammy. At some point, we collapsed onto one bed, shoes still on, laughing about nothing, everything. Later, when the lights were off and the city hummed outside the window, Lucas started talking. "I used to think," he said quietly, staring at the ceiling, "that if I stayed invisible long enough, people would eventually notice me." No one interrupted him. I was always the background friend, the extra, the one people forgot to invite. He laughed softly, but it didn't quite land. Guess I got used to watching instead of being watched. I felt something tighten in my chest. Ethan turned on his side to face him, listening in a way that made it clear this wasn't the first time he'd heard pain like that. Vegas ended, but the closeness didn't. A month later, we drove west, chasing the ocean. California stretched out in blue and gold. Wind tangling our hair, sand stuck in places it shouldn't be. We walked the beach barefoot, teasing Ethan for hating the cold water, Lucas pretending he didn't mind while shivering dramatically. We shared fries, shared jackets, shared glances that lasted a little too long. One night, the motel messed up our reservation. 1 room, 2 beds. "Guess we're cuddling," Ethan joked. "No complaints here," Lucas said, a little too quickly. We lay there in the dark, inches apart, the space between us louder than any sound. No one crossed a line. No one had to. The tension was already doing enough. On the drive back, Ethan opened up. "I was with someone for 4 years," he said, eyes on the road. By the end, I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. Everything was control, guilt. "If you loved me, you would." He exhaled slowly. "I promised myself I wouldn't disappear like that again." I watched his hands tighten on the steering wheel. I wanted to reach for him. I didn't. That's when I realized the problem. Lucas wanted Ethan. It was obvious now. Every look, every small attempt to be closer, every moment of jealousy disguised as humor. Ethan leaned toward me emotionally, called me first, trusted me with the things he didn't joke about. And me? I wanted both honesty and desire, connection and intensity. I felt guilty for enjoying the attention, guilty for not choosing, guilty for choosing in my heart, even if I hadn't said it out loud. That's when things started shifting. Lucas's jokes sharpened. His comments became pointed. He'd accidentally mention moments Ethan and I shared, twisting them just enough to make them sound different. He'd sigh dramatically when Ethan canceled plans, then glance at me like I was the reason. Once, when Ethan stepped away to take a call, Lucas leaned in. "You ever think," he said softly, "that you're just a phase for him?" The words hit harder than I expected. "I'm just saying," he added, smiling. "I know him better than you think." I started noticing things. Stories that didn't quite line up. Small lies told too casually. Emotional pressure disguised as vulnerability. And then came the night everything cracked. Ethan had left his phone on the table while he grabbed drinks. I leaned over, lowering my voice. "I care about him," I said, not realizing Lucas was close enough to hear. "But I don't want to hurt you." Lucas froze. He didn't say a word, just listened. I didn't know he'd heard enough to change everything. I should have seen it coming. All the signs were there. The pauses, the looks Lucas gave me when Ethan wasn't watching, the way his silence started to feel strategic instead of shy. But when you're inside something that feels good, you don't look for the blade until it's already pressed against your back. Started small. Ethan grew distant. Not cold, just cautious. Replies took longer. Plans changed last minute. When I asked if everything was okay, he smiled and said he was just tired. I believed him because I wanted to. Lucas, on the other hand, was suddenly everywhere. Always available. Always supportive. Always there to help Ethan through whatever he was supposedly dealing with. I didn't know yet that Lucas had been talking. He took pieces of conversations, twisted them just enough to rot. Turned concern into manipulation. Turned hesitation into intention. He told Ethan I was confused, that I was playing both sides, that I'd said Ethan was just a distraction while I figured myself out. None of it was true. All of it sounded believable. The confrontation happened on a Friday afternoon, right in the barbershop. I walked in like I always did, expecting the familiar noise, the usual jokes. Instead, the room went quiet. The music still played, but no one laughed. Ethan stood behind his chair, arms crossed, jaw tight. "What's going on?" I asked. Lucas sat on the bench, eyes down, playing his part perfectly. Ethan didn't waste time. "Why didn't you tell me you were using me?" The word hit like a slap. "What?" I laughed because surely this was a joke. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" "You told Lucas I was a phase," he said, voice sharp now. "That you didn't want anything serious." I felt the blood drain from my face. "I never said that. I said I cared about you. I said I didn't want to hurt anyone." Lucas finally looked up. "You said I wouldn't understand," he murmured. "That I was just in the way. Every eye in the shop was on me." "That's not true," I said, my voice breaking despite my effort to stay calm. "You know me better than that." Ethan laughed once. Bitter. "I thought I did." The words that followed came fast. Accusations stacked on accusations. My explanations drowned out by Ethan's anger, Lucas's carefully timed sighs, the weight of being judged by people who only saw the moment, not the months that led to it. "Get out," Ethan said finally. "I need space from you." The humiliation burned deeper than the anger. I nodded, because I didn't trust myself to speak, and walked out with every part of me shaking. That night, I packed a bag. I told myself it was temporary, a break, a reset. But the truth was, I didn't know how to stay in a city that suddenly felt hostile, like it had chosen sides without hearing mine. I left town with my heart in pieces and the worst thought looping in my head. He believed him. Days passed, then weeks. I tried not to stalk Ethan online. Failed occasionally. Lucas posted pictures, subtle ones, coffee cups, inside jokes, proof of proximity without confirmation. Enough to hurt, enough to keep the wound open. What Lucas didn't realize was that lies need maintenance, and truth is patient. One of the guys from the shop reached out first, said something felt off, that Lucas's stories didn't add up. Then another. Then someone forwarded me screenshots, messages Lucas had sent, rewriting events, exaggerating tone, inventing intent. I didn't share them right away. I waited. I let the pattern reveal itself. Lucas started slipping. His possessiveness became visible. Friends noticed how he isolated Ethan, spoke for him, corrected him. When someone questioned a detail, Lucas snapped. When Ethan wanted space, Lucas panicked. The screenshots spread quietly, not like gossip, like concern. By the time Ethan saw the messages, he didn't need anyone to tell him what they meant. I got the call late one night. "Can we talk?" Ethan's voice was different, smaller, uncertain. We met in a neutral place, a quiet diner off the highway. He looked exhausted, older somehow. "I was wrong," he said immediately. "I should have listened to you." I didn't interrupt. "He twisted things," Ethan continued. "But I let him, because it was easier than admitting I was scared. And I hurt you." I watched him carefully. The man in front of me wasn't angry anymore. He was ashamed. "Lucas lied," Ethan said. "But I gave him the power." That was the moment something shifted. Not just between us, but inside me. Lucas lost people fast after that. Friends distanced themselves. The shop owner asked him to take time off. Eventually, he left. No dramatic exit, just consequences catching up. Ethan reached for my hand across the table. "I loved the wrong person," he said quietly. "And I pushed away the right one." I didn't answer right away, because love doesn't snap back into place just because the truth comes out. But it does leave the door open. And for the first time since I walked out of that barbershop, I felt like maybe, just maybe, the story wasn't over yet. I didn't expect Ethan to come after me. Part of me hoped he would, sure. But hope is a fragile thing, and I'd learned not to lean on it too hard. So when I heard a knock on my door one quiet Sunday afternoon, the last person I expected to see standing there was him. He looked nervous. Not the confident, teasing Barber everyone knew, but Ethan, stripped of all that armor. His eyes were red, like he hadn't been sleeping much. When he saw me, his breath caught, and for a moment neither of us spoke. "I drove all night," he said finally. "I didn't want to lose my nerve." I stepped aside without thinking. The moment the door closed behind him, the silence broke. "I'm sorry," he said, voice shaking. "Not the easy kind of sorry. The kind that keeps you up at night replaying everything you did wrong." I tried to respond. Couldn't. The words tangled with emotion and turned into something dangerously close to tears. When one slipped free, he noticed, and that was all it took. "I was scared," he admitted. "Scared of wanting something real again. Scared of trusting myself. And I let someone else decide my truth for me." I finally looked at him then. Really looked. "You broke my heart," I said softly. "But you didn't ruin me." That's when he cried. Not quietly, not politely. He covered his face like he didn't want me to see it, and somehow that made it hurt and heal at the same time. I sat beside him, not touching him yet, just being there. We talked for hours. About fear. About how love makes you reckless and careful at the same time. About how trust isn't blind. It's a choice you keep making, even when it's hard. We didn't promise perfection. We promised honesty. A week later, we left the city together. Colorado greeted us with cold air and wide skies. The cabin was small, quiet, surrounded by trees that didn't care who we were or what we'd been through. It was exactly what we needed. Mornings with coffee and silence. Afternoons with long walks and laughter that felt lighter than before. Nights where we talked until sleep found us, unafraid of the dark anymore. Somewhere between the snow and the stars, we found each other again. Lucas reached out once. Not to defend himself. Not to reopen wounds. Just to apologize. He admitted he'd been afraid of being alone, of being invisible again. He said he was working on himself. I believed him. Forgiveness didn't erase the past, but it freed all of us from carrying it forward. When we came back, things felt different. Better. Ethan asked me one night, half joking, half serious, "What if we did this together? The shop. The future." I didn't hesitate. "I'd like that." We started small. Shared ideas. Late-night planning sessions. A space that wasn't just about haircuts, but about community, comfort, and belonging. A place where people could come in as they were and leave feeling a little more seen. Some days I sit in the chair and watch him work, the same way I did the first time, except now when he smiles, it's at me. And I think about how strange life is, how love can hide in ordinary moments, how a simple haircut on an ordinary afternoon led me here. That haircut didn't just change my look, changed my life, and it gave me love.